Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving straight into a really specific, kind of uncomfortable conversational pattern. You know the one. It's that dynamic that suddenly makes your heart race and makes you want to just shrink down and stop talking. It feels incredibly unsafe. But hey, take a collective deep breath with me right now. We're going to untangle this whole thing together with total clarity so you can actually reclaim your voice and your courage. Have you ever caught yourself thinking this during a really heated conversation? Why do they try to scare me into silence instead of just answering my questions? It's such a relatable feeling, isn't it? And honestly, it is totally suffocating when someone tries to shut you down like this. You bring up a perfectly valid, reasonable point, and then boom, suddenly, instead of getting a logical response, you're just staring at a brick wall of fear.
Okay, let's dive right into this and give it a proper name. It's called the intimidation fallacy. Basically, it's the act of using fear, implied threats, or the promise of some sort of negative consequence to just shut someone down. And why do they do it? Simply because they literally cannot defeat your argument with actual logic. Once you grasp that, you realize that intimidation isn't an argument at all. It's a power play, plain and simple. When someone figures out they're losing the logical debate, they pivot.
To picture this, think of your idea like a really bright, glowing light bulb. But when the other person uses the intimidation fallacy, they don't actually debate the light bulb itself. No, instead they turn into this massive, looming shadow. They completely bypass your rational mind and go straight for your emotions, basically trying to make the room so dark and scary that you'll just drop the bulb on your own.
So, what's their actual end game here? Well, they're forcing you to make a really tough choice between your comfort and your truth. The manipulator wants to make you feel deeply, deeply unsafe. They'll imply, often super subtly by the way, that if you keep speaking up, you might lose your job, or your relationships, or your reputation. They are totally betting on the fact that you'll choose the cozy comfort of security over the messy discomfort of standing by your truth.
Let's look at how this actually plays out in everyday life. Because this fallacy wears a ton of different hats, depending on the situation. Let's say you point out a major flaw on a project at work, and a manager leans in and says, if you keep pushing this, you might find it hard to advance your career here. Yikes, right? Or flip it over to your personal life. Maybe you set a really healthy boundary at home, and a family member hits you with a massive guilt trip. If you really love this family, you wouldn't ask such dangerous questions. You'll end up completely alone. See what they did there? That is not a debate. That is straight up emotional blackmail. In both of those scenarios, they weaponized your future just to control your present.
All right, so how do we actually fight back and protect our peace? Well, we're going to use a super simple 3-step toolkit. Step 1 is honestly where all your power lies. I want you to literally do this with me right now. Pause and breathe. Seriously, do not let that sudden rush of fear dictate your reaction. When you actively slow down the tempo and lower your heart rate, you project this really calm authority. You're basically showing them, hey, the shadow trick didn't work.
Okay, once you've taken that breath, we move right into step 2, which is naming the tactic calmly. Try using this absolutely brilliant script. It feels like you were using fear to end this discussion, rather than addressing my point. I mean, just saying that out loud feels kind of liberating, doesn't it? By stating exactly what is happening in the room, you are flipping the lights back on. You're exposing the shadow for exactly what it is, and you didn't even have to raise your voice to do it.
And that rolls us seamlessly right into step 3, redirecting back to the facts. You can just look at them and say, I am happy to discuss the actual data, but I will not make decisions based on implied threats. This isn't about being aggressive, and you're definitely not trying to start a fight. It's just about holding a really firm boundary. You are politely but firmly refusing to let fear act as the referee of your truth. You're simply inviting them back into the realm of logic, if they choose to accept it.
If you take absolutely nothing else away from this explainer today, please remember this. Intimidation is the last resort of someone who has completely run out of good arguments. When someone tries to make you feel small, it's almost always because their own argument is incredibly weak. I just really want to reassure you right now, your voice is so valuable. You are seen, you are valued, and your thoughts absolutely matter. You never, ever have to trade your truth for a false sense of security.
But before we completely wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with something a little provocative to chew on. What happens when that overt, scary threat disappears, and the person puts on a mask of kindness instead? Like, how do you protect your boundaries when a threat is disguised as this warm, fuzzy blanket of, hey, I'm just looking out for you? Join me for our next explainer as we unpack the threat disguised as advice fallacy, and we'll learn exactly how to spot the poison when it's served to you in a teacup. Stay curious, and I'll see you next time.